Hey, what is up, YouTube? How's it going, y'all? It's Sparky Marky Mark here, and I'm here to do a bit of a movie review and Blu-ray, of course, for this 1981 classic action post-apocalyptic film, John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Star and the film, you may know its star cast: Kurt Russell, Lee Van Cleef, Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, Isaac Hayes, Susan Hubley, Harry Dean Stanton as Brain, and Adrienne Barbeau as Maggie. And of course, it has Tom Atkins in it. So, in other words, the film is a 2K scan of the interpositive struck from the original negatives. Audio commentaries, you have three. First one is with actress Adrienne Barbeau, D.O.P. Dean Cundey. Audio commentary, and second one with director John Carpenter and actor Kurt Russell. Third commentary is producer Deborah Hill and production designer Joe Alves. And you have the first one is a feature film, and the second disc is the special features, which is I'm going to be showing you on the screen with the volume muted. In each Screen Factory edition of this, if I show you this, Escape from New York, MGM, Screen Factory. And you have the disc, you have the hero of the story, and then you have the second disc, which I'll show you in a moment. The rules are in each of these steel books from Screen Factory will have a line from the movie or maybe artwork. But in this one, the rules are simple. Once you go in, you don't come out. And it does have a good score, by the way, done by Alan Howarth in association with John Carpenter, or in association with Alan Howarth, as well as the scan of the film as well. And for special feature, I'll show you is going to be a lot, and it's called Return to Escape from New York featurette, which is about 23 minutes in length, carried from the previous editions. You have interviews with John Carpenter, Kurt Russell, Nick Castle, Deborah Hill, Adrienne Barbeau, Harry Dean Stanton, Isaac Hayes, production designer Joe Alves, and DOP, director of photography, Dean Cundey. They talk about the setting of the film, where it was set, and also the design of the city to make it look post-apocalyptic future, of course, no doubt about it, and as well as the character development, in which Deborah Hill talks about the two halves of Snake Plissken, the two halves that John Carpenter and Kurt Russell are identified with the character of Snake Plissken, in which Carpenter and his friend Nick Castle wrote, of course, and created it for the film. And as well as the character is supposed to be anti-hero, in which everybody loves, an outlaw, and he was a little bit of Clint Eastwood, which everyone loves. Great aspect to the character, and very likable as well. And he only likes to be called Snake, not his last name. Call me Plissken. And of course, and also as well as the location for actress Adrienne Barbeau, who of course was the first wife to John Carpenter, of course. Talk about that they made the Carpenter and Castle, or one of them, wrote the script saying that she says about strong female characters, in which really some people do go for that, and it's magnificent how the character of Maggie is portrayed in the story. Then you have Harry Dean Stanton, who plays the role of Brain. And his character, he's a character actor, of course, greatest one of all, and very, very likable, of course. And a bit of sometimes a jerk, but at the end, his character is great. Then you have singer turned actor Isaac Hayes. He's interviewed, and he plays the role of the Duke of New York, in which he's a leader of a gang, and they take Plissken and they have the president hostage, and then course, they had to make a deal or something. And then also they talk about also with production designer Joe Alves and Dean Cund and director of photography Dean Cundy. They talk about the location of the film, in which they had to shoot it in St. Louis to make it, because there was a recent fire or something or riot that occurred there, and it looked perfect to be the post-apocalyptic city that everyone was talking about. And the only shot that you can see in the film, which they talk about, is that the shot was of the Statue of Liberty, and they had to like do the settings and make it look like they were in New York, and then cut to a set in St. Louis, and they had to make it look like it was still New York. And also, one of them talks about James Cameron, who matte painted the city, and of course, very difficult to make a shot of the matte painted city when they drop a box of it, a package to New York, and that's how it was done, and they got it right, and a little bit hard at the same time. But also at the release of the film, they talk about that the film was a success. People are getting vibes from it and stuff. Even the character aspects, and also it has cult followings ever since, and they do not. And some people do nods of Escape from New York, of course, and it's become a cult classic ever since. It did do very well, and it got a lot of response to the public. And it was the feature that was poured from the early editions, from the special edition DVD, of course. Then of course you have in the special features, which we're going to be looking at in a bit. Just a sec. Okay, big challenges in Little Manhattan. The visual effects of Escape from New York. It's a 14 and a half featurette, interviews with the Skotech brothers, Dennis and Robert, talking about the shots, the visual shots of the film, also building the miniatures of the city to look like they were shooting from a helicopter angle of the post-apocalyptic city. Also, they also talk about James Cameron, of course, and before that, they were approached by Carpenter after they were in post-production or finishing Galaxy of Terror, which is around Roger Corman Studios' New World Pictures at the time, and they talk a lot of things, and also they had to make the city had to build out of cardboard and everything, and everything was caught very well. At the same time, easy but difficult, but at the same time, magnificent shots and everything of the city. Of course, that's how they used a few shots, including the planes, in which they had to make it look like it was flying. They had to do a background of flying clouds to make it look like there's a plane flying and everything, to create the illusion, to make it look like the plane is flying. And it's a pretty good feature, of course. Then of course, on this one right about here is scoring at the Escape, a discussion with composer Alan Howarth, with a special guest star Sean Clark of Horror's Holograms, in which Sean Clark interviews and talks with Alan Howarth, the composer of the film, that he started his career doing the music, the sound effects man. He worked at the sound department, working in films like Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Then, of course, was recruited to do Escape from New York, and he was asked by the editor to like meet John Carpenter, or was it a friend of theirs, and the two became buds instantly, and they decided to do, instead of sounds, how about a score for the film, and they did. And also, he shows off his little studio that he has now. But he talks about when he did the film, he rented a house near Pasadena, I believe, or somewhere in the valley, of his rented home studio in Los Angeles, and talking about the score that he did and all the sounds he put in the film. And then he talks about a record company that so called the record company called Verizon Sub this one Verizon Sarabande, a company, of course, that distributes vinyl records and other things, of course. And they only cut half of the soundtrack, of course, which a vinyl record can only take about 25 minutes or 23 minutes of vinyl. Here it is right here. This, I don't think this is in the vinyl. Let me be clear. Okay, this is the vinyl, but unfortunately they put a big sticker, since I think Verici sub, so I can't even say that name right. Um, they didn't like they didn't have the rights to the cover art, or just didn't like it, so they put a big sticker that says John Carpenter in association with Alan Howarth. The big sticker. And the biggest sale that they had at that time, of course, believe it or not, if it comes surprising to you, is that the track got a lot of vibes from the public when the film came out. They asked the company, Verizon Sabande, asked them to do a soundtrack for the film. And originally Carpenter didn't want to do it, so Alan Howarth took his job as doing the score for the film, and then doing the score for the soundtrack. And it got a few of them, and half of the soundtrack, they eliminated a few parts of the soundtrack which didn't have any sound or music. Then, of course, it got sold very big back then, like 10, maybe 20, 15. But whoa, it went to 80,000 in sales. 80 copies were sold and loved by the fans who saw the film. And of course, here's the track, of course, that were tracks written by John Carpenter, except where noted, and it's about 37 minutes and 22 seconds. And of course, here's the alternate cover for the 2000 remastered edition. And the 2000 remastered edition has about 28 tracks, and the length is about 57 minutes and 17 seconds. And very, very good. And also here's the people involved. Carpenter did the keyboard, synthesizer production. Alan Howard did synthesizer, sequence, programming, production. And Tommy Lee Wallace did play the guitar, and Pamela Smith did the keyboard. And all in all, the sound we have that we love from this film is great. And that's about 18 minutes and 56 seconds feature. Then you have another one called On Set. Just a sec. Then the next one is called, Interview with Still Photographer Kim Gottlieb Walker. Author off on set with John Carpenter, which is about 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Interview with Miss Walker about the idealistically about backgrounds and being on set, a photographer, and doing shots and other things, including it had to be a lot of work she had to do, and other things that she had been doing, working as a still photographer to be on a film, and which it was her first time doing it. And at the same time, it was easy. It's a very lovely interview with Miss Walker, and she's got a great, successful career after that. Then the next feature is called I Am Taylor, an interview with Joe Unger, of course, in which, unfortunately, very sad and bummer that Joe Unger is not in the film, in which he plays the role of Taylor, Snape Plissken's best friend and fellow army buddy, in which he talks about that he got approached from his agent to tell him to She tells him that she got him a job at a film and heard about John Carpenter, and very surprisingly, he got involved in the movie. And he talked about the locations where the film was shot. Some of it was in Georgia, some of them was around Atlanta, which they had to put the train sequence, which was indeed the famous deleted scene that is known to this day, the opening bank robbery sequence in which Snake and Taylor are like robbing the bank, getting what they need to get, and then suddenly, out of the blue, the friend gets Taylor gets killed, and then unfortunately, and then Snake Plissken gets captured by the police, and he's arrested. And then when the film came out, he was very shocked that he did not been told that that the scene was deleted, and his character is not even in the movie. It was like, what happened? And very disappointed. Even to this day, he's still mad at either John Carpenter or the studio Ethical Embassy for doing that. They just wanted a straight action film thriller. That's it. I can't believe we've been lied to all these years, really. And also, that's about 8 minutes and 49-second featurette with Joe Unger. And then you have My Night on Set, an interview with filmmaker David Dakota, who is, of course, the biggest director for Full Moon with Charles Band. He said in the interview in the 80s, he was in his late teens, talking about his interview with him. He talks about his career starting in his late teens when he was 18, working at New World Pictures, working with Roger Corman, working on Galaxy of Terror and such, and then talking about Escape from New York, being the set, working on set with the people, with Joe Carpenter and good actors like Kurt Russell, Harry Dean Stanton, Lee Van Cleef, of course. If anyone know who Lee Van Cleef was, he was a spaghetti western actor who is no longer with us anymore. But they talk about he was a great actor. But also, he said that his experience working was either easy or difficult, and being at 18 years old was very fun and hard at the same time. He had his own experiences. Then since then, he went on to work on other films and work with Full Moon Pictures on different other projects, and he's still a great independent filmmaker to this day. And that's about a 5-minute and 2-second feature. And the deleted scenes, which was the, of course, original opening called Bank Robbery Sequence, which is an audio commentary with Kurt Russell, I believe, and Joe Unger and John Carpenter as well. They talk about that scene. They were not notified that scene had been cut from the final film, and unfortunately, they just don't get it. They worked on the project, and the next thing you know, it was deleted from the cutting room floor, never made it to the finished film. And that deleted scene is about 10 minutes and 46 seconds. And of course, all in all, it was a bummer that it got deleted and he was not on film. And of course, the actor who played Taylor, Joe Unger, he's had a successful career in films, of course, but unfortunately, Escape from New York will be you can only see the deleted scene in the special features of the Screen Factory or the special edition DVD of that film. But he played as Lieutenant Raymond Hamilton, or Raymond Hamilton, in Go Tell Spartan, Fast Charlie as the bank teller, and then he was in this film, but his scenes got deleted, which was Escape from New York. National Lampoon's Joy of Sex as Mr. Randa, then as Sergeant Garcia in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Then he worked on other films, including as Tinker Tink Sawyer, the left-hooked brother of Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Then he was the voice in Total Recall, then played journalist in The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner, and singer-actress Whitney Houston, and was announcer in the film called Loved Field that same year, and then was Ernest in direct-to-video sequel Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, Night of the Scarecrows as Deputy Number 2, and went on to direct other films until 2014. And was also as Carpris in Roadhouse. But still, then he still gets a bit mad that his scene got deleted, unfortunately. And all in all, this is a great film. To anybody who's a fan of Kurt Russell, John Carpenter, and any of these people in the film, of course. If anybody likes to see post-apocalyptic cities and John Carpenter and perhaps English actor Donald Pleasance, this film is the way for you to go. I mean, really, where the heck would you even get this movie? Exactly. You can either get the Steelbook editions, just be very, very careful with it. I mean, super careful. This is a Steelbook. Oftentimes I'm seeing some people on eBay selling different Steelbooks that were exclusive to other places and other things, but some of them get banged very hard or get hit very hard, and it's not a good value. It hurts the value indeed. As well as other products, or you could just get the regular Blu-ray with the disc. It does come with 2 discs as well. Or you could just try finding it with the OOP slipcover. Just get the regular Blu-ray and just keep the alternate artwork. And of course, before I sign off, here's the special features disc. Very cool, right? All in all, in the near future, I'll show you the set again, but this is how it comes with, of course. But I'm gonna be putting paper sleeves and put it on there. I don't like putting these on my, I don't like sticking it there too much. All in all, it's a great film, post-apocalyptic future. It takes place in the late 90s, of course. And all in all, it's a fun movie. Good practical effects. And the sequel is cool. I dig it. Don't care what anyone says. So anyway, this is Sparky Marky Mark. I'm out of here, and happy birthday to me. Signing off, y'all. See you in the next one. God bless you.